So I think it's fitting that I'm driving an F40 because I have a thing that I want to get into, or at least talk about. So with new rules, by 2035, the plan is the auto manufacturers are planning not to make any more fuel or gasoline-fired cars or ICE, internal combustion engines. They're going to switch completely over to whether it's electric or I haven't looked at all the rules, but the plan is to do that. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that are we not going to have gas-fired cars anymore? Well, they're going to stop making them. So when they stop making them, they're going to have to figure out how to supply electricity or whatever alternative fuel, whether it's hydrogen or electricity or whatever, in the network of gasoline-fired cars that we currently have, or gas stations. So gasoline, I could definitely see getting harder and harder to find. The other difference is that even if gasoline is available, it's going to get expensive, whether they come up with a alternate technology or they come up with a synthetic fuel. What I'm concerned about is that growing up with cars, it's going to become a little bit more difficult. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? Well, there's not much we could do about it if legislation happens and they just decide that that's what they're going to do. But my point is, what we can do about it is enjoy the twilight of the internal combustion engine, and that's drive these cars. These cars are being celebrated because there's no mileage on them. They're being celebrated because no one's ever driven them. I mean, I just find that absolutely absurd. I mean, we're doing the wrong thing. I mean, these cars are going to end up in museums. These cars are going to end up in a plinth in someone's garage because they can afford a 7-figure price tag to own one of these things. And they're going to celebrate the fact that in its heyday, they weren't able to be driven. And my point is, like, what are you talking about? I mean, you should be driving these cars. I'm just blown away when everybody's like, you know, talking about how, like, oh my God, you know, this car has 1,000 miles on it. This car itself has something like 5,000 miles on it. And to me, it's like, how can you only have used this thing for 5,000 miles? The analogies I have to what we're talking about is the horse. At the turn of the century, when these stinky, nasty internal combustion engines are starting to take over and people had horses, they said, what do we need these cars for? These automobiles, they're smelly, there's no network of gas stations, you know, you have to maintain them. You know, a horse, all you got to do is make sure you have a place for it to live, you put some food in it, they take care of you, they're your friend, and you ride them into town. Like everybody was saying, oh, we should just stay with horses. Well, what happened was slowly the cars took over, and then all the stables went away, and all of a sudden, we didn't have horses anymore. Well, what if you were at that position and you really looked at the writing on the wall, you would have said, you know, I really love my horse. I would really like to, you know, see this continue. But if it isn't, if you read the writing on the wall, horses are going away. So you know what? Ride the hell out of your horse. Enjoy it. And then what'll happen is you'll at least have a time where you can tell your kids, you know, I used to ride this horse, you know, to school, or I used to ride my horse into town and used it. And, you know, when we were no longer allowed to have horses, or not allowed, but people just became out of, you know, it just became passé to have a horse, at least you lived in a time which you can have horses. Now, we trailer the horses, we show the horses, we display the horses, we show people that we have taste and all this other stuff with horses. Sorry about the brakes. Race brakes, they don't get hot. So my feeling is, yeah, you know, enjoy these cars. Like that. Like that. That's what we should be doing. Every freaking mile should be like that. And the other point to me is that we have these cars, and the thing is, you know, people, oh, it's wasteful, you know, you're using all this gas, and, you know, it's smelly. It's like, you know what? The gallon or two of gas that I just burned this morning on this car, I enjoyed every freaking drop of that gas. And the difference is, I'd rather burn a gallon of gas doing this than sitting on the 405 idling. And that's what most of the people are doing. And that to me is a waste. That is not conservation. I say drive an electric car, you know, be green, save the environment, but like if you're gonna use it, savor it. Don't just burn it for the hell of it. I mean, that's my point. We're at a twilight of gas. We should savor every drop and use it to its fullest potential. You know, even if it's a Sunday morning drive with your kid and you have this like lifelong experience or memory, that's what we should be burning our gas for, and know that, okay, the end is near and we are gonna have to do this, but let's savor it a little bit. So, you know, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I don't understand this whole celebrating a low mileage. We should be celebrating the high mileage so we can look back and say those were my heroes because they drove them when they could. I don't want to be the idiot that owns a car with no mileage on it and say, wait a minute, so you had a chance to drive your car back then when gas was available and everybody had it and you didn't? Yeah, because it has low mileage. Well, who's gonna look stupid? So, I mean, I hate to be so harsh, but the hobby's going the wrong way. You know, if you want to, you know, celebrate something, celebrate the fact that you're going out on a Sunday morning and drive and burn a little bit of gasoline while you still can. So anyway, I'm done. I'm not preaching anymore, but it's just my thoughts about this car and about the about driving it.